Take your time, don't you fool around. No time to joke or be a clown. If you give every day your best, good things are bound to come to you. One look in the mirror, it'll always tell the truth. If you put your best foot forward, good things are bound to come to you. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It don't matter as long as you're on track. Greet every morning with a smile. Good things are bound to come to you. One look in the mirror, it'll always tell the truth. If you put your best foot forward, good things are bound to come to you. No talking smack or jiving around. No empty words will be allowed. Just put your nose to the grindstone now. Good things are bound to come to you. Well, if you give every day your best, good things are bound to come to you. Hey, 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 greet every morning with a smile. Good things are bound to come to you.
All right, so that's Paul Serra, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Paul Serra.
Good morning.
So give him some love on the chat. He's sitting in for Teresa James, who is in the Lone Star State, shining her light out that ways, which is where she's from, by the way, in case you didn't know. So don't talk smack about Texas right now. Yeah. Are you from Texas? So we have the wonderful Gregg Levoy in the house also. So you'll be hearing from him here in just a moment, but he's also has books available here at the center. If you're local, come on down. We're meeting in person at 1 o'clock for his workshop. And so you are welcome to join us here, or check your constant contact to find the Zoom room and the link, that both the username, let's see, what is it? The Zoom and the password to get in, all right? So that's also on our Facebook page. So look that up and you can join us. And the fee for that is only $30. So join us for that. And so then I'm also going to ask that we ask to just post, I have an announcement today. So I could not make this announcement until this week, until Shia made the announcement himself publicly. But Shayna made her transition on August 27th after she was with family in the hospital. And we lost, or we're releasing Judy to her highest expression of life. Judy Dunkley, a longtime religious science, founding member of the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living in Chatsworth, and our lay pastoral care leader for at least, I want to say 4 years, might be 5. And so she will be missed. She died peacefully this morning with family, and in the hospital. So as we move through our flames of faith today, we can raise them in love and in light. And so I'm going to invite our presider, our wonderful Andrea Recht, and we're going to take a deep conscious breath together and release. Maybe bring the lights down just a wee bit. as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Andrea lights this first candle, it is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism. And today we really are lighting it for Judaism. Because Judy was also raised in the Jewish tradition. Yeah. So we light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course within our own hearts. And as Andrea lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit gives through you, Spirit receives through you, Spirit lives and breathes through you. Spirit lives and breathes through you. Spirit gives through us, receives through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us.
And it is with a heart overflowing with gratitude that I anchor myself in the eternal nowness of this moment and recognize that Spirit lives and breathes as my life, that all life is an expression of the divine. It is everywhere present, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and it is expressing as my life. And in fact, this very service is a divine idea in the mind of infinite intelligence. So I am blessing this morning's divine gathering, knowing that we are indeed here by divine appointment. Blessing Reverend Mike and our guest speaker, Gregg Levoy, knowing that the message falls upon open ears and fertile hearts, that new seeds are planted for our awareness of our highest and best yet to be. Just blessing Miss Judy Dunkley as she ascends, Shana, and all those who have gone before us, knowing great things are in store for them and for us as we surrender and allow the magnificence that already is to be right here and right now. So I give thanks for this as I lovingly release this word to that aspect of infinite intelligence known as law, which always and only says yes. So I know it is done. I know it is so. And in agreement, we simply say together, thank you. And so it is. Good morning. And welcome to this morning's service. I'm happy to be here as usual, and I'm happy that you all are here in person. Look at this, we're filling up. I think it's Mr. Levoy drew some people back into our presence, so that's wonderful. Thank you for being here. Today is 9/11. And I don't know about you all, but that conjures up some energy for me. Not only because of the attack in 2001, but also now because Judy made her transition on 9/11. And so did my mom in September of 2011. My mom made her transition. So even though it was a long time ago, 9/11 has this, 9/11, this idea, this story for me. I was looking up some quotes from the master of the power of now, Eckhart Tolle. And I came across this one, that what a caterpillar calls the end, what a caterpillar calls the end of the world, we call a butterfly. So I'm blessing Judy as she flaps her new wings, and Shana and my mom and everyone who lost their lives in the 2001 attack. And it reminded me that I am faced with choice. Do I want to choose to dwell on the darkness that those stories bring? Or do I want to anchor more deeply into the present moment? Because Ernest Holmes says that yesterday is not, tomorrow is not, but today, bright with hope and filled with promise, is mine. Today, I live. And that's where I want to be. I want to be in life. I want to be in joy, in hope, and not in despair. Tolle also said that if your mind carries a heavy burden of past, you will experience more of the same. And that's, of course, a principle of the science of mind, right? That the mental equivalent is very important. The past perpetuates itself through the lack of presence. The quality of your consciousness at this moment is what shapes the future. So I get to check in with myself frequently to see where is my attention and what is my intention to be present to the presence in the present, to be present to the presence in the present moment, or to wander off into, ain't it awful, ain't it terrible, isn't it sad? Because what a caterpillar calls the end of the world, we call a butterfly. really the present moment is all that we have, isn't it? That there is no such thing as the past or the future, really. The present is all that I have. And so I can make that the primary focus of my life, the now, this now, right now, the eternal now. Not a second ago or a minute ago, but now. And the now is always taking place, isn't it? The past isn't taking place. The future isn't taking place, only the now. So I am choosing in this moment to be filled with hope and to be filled with life and to be filled with joy and love. I have to tell you, our minister is something pretty special. He's looking around like, she talking about me? And I just want to share this really quick, because I had a chance to go see Judy. She didn't want a lot of people there, but for some reason, she was okay with me coming. So I went. And I guess I'm not that comfortable with people who are transitioning. I know for some people, they really have a calling to be with people who are at the end of this experience. But I was kind of scared to stroke her body. I don't know. Until Rev got there. When Rev came in, he leaned over and he kissed her and he stroked her hair and he stroked her arms and he called her beautiful. And Rev, you made it okay for me to do that. And you've been with me through a lot of stuff. And I just want you to know that he's the real deal, man. He is something special. And I'm so grateful that I landed here some 10, 11 years ago. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
When the night has come and the land is dark, and the moon, well, it's the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. Well, if the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains, they should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand by me. Now if the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains, they might crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry. Lord, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Just stand by me. Won't you stand by me.
That's Polly, everybody. Please put your hands together again. Very soulful. Thanks, Polly. Beautiful. So I have look at this, 2 pages of announcements. Wow, got a lot to talk about. Reverend Nikki is our practitioner/minister on vigil this morning, and she will be available for prayer after service in the treatment room briefly, because she's got to help me set up for our potluck. But somebody else can help me do that, right? If you want to if you're a licensed practitioner, please raise your hand. We have several in the room today. Look at that, half of us almost. So if you are in need of a practitioner, or you just want a practitioner to work with, please see one of us. It is our pleasure to pray with you and to know the truth for and about you. We have a special 30-second video announcement right now that Evan is going to throw on the screen here. So I'm going to step away and let you see that.
My name is Jody Walker, and I'm a certified study group leader through the Circle of Atonement. I'm excited to present a new class to CSL Granada Hills family and friends entitled More Than an Introduction to A Course in Miracles. If you've been curious about what the Course says, or if you would like a refresher on the Course's teachings, which are rooted in forgiveness, this class will give you a solid foundation to enhance your spiritual program, and it might fit nicely into your Science of Mind practice. Please join us.
That's our own Jody sitting in the back of the room right there, who has a workshop coming up on the Course of Miracles, as you just heard. I'm not exactly sure when that is going to start. The 24th of September. Okay, if you want more information about that, please see Jody. Thank you for that. Zoom fellowship today at 11:45 is hosted by Reverend Jessica. And we have a very special treat today. Gregg Levoy is here to present the workshop on the stories we tell ourselves. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've told myself some doozies. And we're going to have a chance to, I think, look at those and maybe rewrite some of those and talk about them and share about them. So I'm looking forward to that very much. Thank you for being here. And that is going to be at 1 o'clock today, in person and on Zoom. We're going to have some food in between second service and the workshop. So join us in Sparks Hall for that. The Healing Support Group is on, I'm sorry. The Zoom for the workshop is in your constant contact, and it's a different Zoom than our fellowship Zoom or the usual Zoom that we use for other things here. So check out your constant contact. It's also on our Facebook page, I believe, so you can access it there. The Healing Support Group is online today at 1 o'clock. From Whence We Came is Reverend Nikki's class. September 12th at 6 o'clock online. If you're interested in the Ladies Spiritual Spa, please see Reverend Nikki. She's here today, and she'll answer any questions you have. The Law of Attraction group is online September 18th at 1 o'clock. And Animal Kinship group is online Sunday, September 18th at 1 o'clock. Ricky Byers-Beckwith is having a concert at the Arcadia Performing Arts Center on September 24th at 4:30 in the afternoon. If you're interested in attending that, please sign up for carpooling if you want in Sparks Hall. We are having a party. We're having a party here on Friday, November 4th at 6 o'clock. We're having a catered dinner and dancing here in the sanctuary to keep down costs and invite people to come back to the center. So we don't know the price of that yet. It's probably going to be around $30. Wonderful Mediterranean dinner, and then we're going to transform the sanctuary into dinner and dancing, and it's going to be a blast. So please mark that on your calendar, November 4th. Come on out and party with us. Let's get this place back to the activity and the level of enthusiasm and excitement that we want to see. If you're new here, I think everybody is not. You want to be a member? We have a membership form for you to fill out. I think you're the only one here who might not be a member yet. So anyway, that's enough out of me. If you would mind standing, please, if you're able to, we're going to recite the Declaration of Principles. This is what we believe. We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes this presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and in the immortality of the individual soul, forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the spirit of the earth. You We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the spirit of
All right, here we are, the day we've been waiting for. So I have to tell you, so Greg, you don't remember me, but I remember you, because I was here when Dr. Maureen had you out, when you released your book, Callings, and then we celebrated you with your next book, Vital Signs, I believe, yeah. So, he actually did call us to come present, but I felt like we were too small, so I sent you over to Westlake. That's why I'm being so familiar with it. We're old buddies. So anyway, I know that you're in for a real treat. He is a very accomplished person. I won't go into all that except to say that he's a journalism professor, among other things, being a writer. And maybe you'll go into that because you know it better than I do. And so let's just welcome Mr. Gregg Levoy.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Mike. And I'm so delighted to see you again. Oh, my goodness. One of my favorite people. Yes. All right. Well, I'm delighted to be here this morning in person, and thank you for your incredible music, by the way. Yeah. Wow. Wow. What a voice you have. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. 3 years ago, I moved from Asheville, North Carolina to Santa Cruz, California. And this was a decision that was complicated by the fact that my twin brother lives there and has for 40 years. Identical. And so moving to his town would not only require that we run afoul of a very long-standing policy of ours that there ain't no town big enough for the two of us. I mean, meaning that we need our own turf, okay? But I thought it would surely trouble the ghost of our mother, who instilled that taboo in us with her insistence, I mean from the day we were born, that we were going to have separate identities. Okay, so no Ron and Don stuff, all right? Or as my dad used to say, Pete and repeat. And he said if you'd have been girls, it would have been Kate and duplicate. One of those dad jokes. But when I told my brother of my interest in considering Santa Cruz as a place to relocate and shared with him my anxiety about, you know, kind of running afoul of this long-standing policy of ours, his initial response was, he shrugged. He said, 15 years ago, I probably would have agreed, but I'm over it. And then one afternoon, during a month-long experiment in dating Santa Cruz, meaning I lived there for a month to see if it was actually a fit, I went into the grocery store around the corner from his house. It's the one he frequents. And when the cashier asked if I wanted a receipt, and I said yes, she said, "Really? You never want a receipt." So I got to say something to her that I say a lot in Santa Cruz. I'm not who you think I am. And I'm not pulling your leg, and I'm his twin brother, and I'm the twin who always wants a receipt, okay? Later that same day, my brother Ross went into the grocery store, just independently of me, stood in the same checkout line. The same cashier said to him, "Oh, I saw your other half today." Not realizing what a loaded remark that is for a twin. Other half? Okay. That night, he told me that he had the first of a number of nightmares about the prospect of me moving into his town. And several of them over the course of a couple of weeks, including one dream had an avalanche, another had a mudslide, another had a Tyrannosaurus Rex tearing up the town of Santa Cruz. So it turns out he was not over it, okay? Nor was I, okay? And this is not surprising because the prohibition against living in the same town was among the longest standing stories of our life together. And we were not going to just edit it out without some backlash, all right? But it was the only way we were able to grow past that story and even consider living in the same town was to confront it together and separately, to confront the story and hash it out. Okay, we had some serious conversations about what it actually meant to live in the same town, all right? And the fact is, I think we all have stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and how it is and what we're capable of and what can and can't be done, right? Why we succeed or fail, what we can expect from life. And I think we do it because we're storytelling animals. And we create stories to help us figure life out, make sense of it, maybe give us kind of a framework for making decisions, all right? But some of those stories can turn against us, all right? They can turn against us, especially the negative or the constricting stories, you know, like, I'm not the creative type, or I'm powerless to change the world, or I'm a victim, or people are untrustworthy, or vulnerability is weakness, or 1,000 others, of course, you know? And I think they can hold us back when they, when they are self-limiting. You know what I'm saying? They're self-limiting. They come up against life's primary agenda, in my opinion, which is grow. Grow, evolve, expand. Okay? And, they hold us back when they run across the belief that we have here in New Thought, which is that each one of us is an expression of God, and therefore sacred and worthy. You know, when the stories come up against that, they hold us back. Okay? Especially when they become kind of lies of identity. I am what I do. I am what I have. I am what other people think of me. Those kind of stories. And we're not just talking about the big ones either. Anytime you find yourself having a strong reaction to somebody or something, like knee-jerk anger or unexpected defensiveness or irrational fear, you're probably dealing with a story in the back of your head that's become so internalized and unconscious, you don't even hear it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Somebody makes a casual remark. It unconsciously reminds you of something your dad used to say to you, and you're just off to the races. You know what I'm saying? You're not even really seeing things as they are anymore, but as they were. All right? And stuck in a story that's probably just going to keep repeating itself unless you confront it. Unless you confront it in some way. By the way, I want to just say there's a category of stories. Some stories, negative stories, quote unquote, some negative stories are really important to tell. Okay, I'm thinking of, for instance, the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions that were set up in South Africa after apartheid, okay, and how critical they were to the justice and the healing that happened there when the victims of apartheid got a chance to tell their stories of victimization. Some negative stories are really critical to tell, and we're seeing a lot of that in the news these days, of course, right? But nor are these just old stories. My experience is I'm constantly making up new stories about what I think is going on around me, like what somebody's thinking of me. There's a losing proposition. What a friend meant by a remark, what a symptom means, what a failure says about me. I'm constantly making up stories, okay? Anytime I hear myself say I should do something, I think I'm dealing with a story. Anytime I hear a thou shalt not in the back of my head, I think I'm dealing with a story. And it's certainly anytime I ever say, that's the story of my life. This is something we usually utter in exasperation. It's like a statement of pessimism. That's a storyline, the story of my life. Wow, all right? And these are not just personal. The stories are not just personal, they're cultural, okay? Big boys don't, or nice girls don't. These are gender stories that can haunt your individual life pretty readily, as can like cultural narratives like go to school, graduate, get a job, get married, have kids, retire. It's like, fine, this is a template that might be useful for some people in crafting a life. It's stenciled footprints on the ground, help you figure out the dance moves. On the other hand, it could punish anybody who deviates from it. You should have seen what hit the fan when I declared in my family that I wanted to be a writer. It's like, writer? And you're going to pay the bills how? So deviated from the storyline, the family, the cultural storyline. And it might just make it tough to deal with the American dream when you deviate from the American dream, okay? So, and I have to say also, of course, that stories are handed down to us from our spiritual traditions, okay? I remember when I first came out with the Callings book, I started being invited to do the New Thought churches, and I was in Toronto at the CSL up there, and I asked him, because I wasn't that familiar with the denomination at that point, I said, so who comes to this denomination? He said, 50% of our people here are recovering something or others. Okay, so what I mean maybe more than our spiritual traditions handing stories down is the religious education a lot of us got. All right, I'm thinking, for instance, for example, of the first 5 books of the Old Testament, first 5 books of the Old Testament collectively referred to as the law. There are 613 of them. I looked down the list, 613, including do not marry outside your religion. Okay, follow not the whims of your own heart. This would put me out of business. Mr. Callings, follow not the whims of your own heart. First of all, whims, in any case. Things like create no artistic representations of God. So the painting that Michelangelo did on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel there, this one, blasphemy by that definition. All right? No tattoos. All right? No blowing on dice. No working on Sunday. This would put me and Reverend Mike in the doghouse. All right? No working on Sundays. I love this. No rebelling against your parents. And one of my favorites is no trying God's patience. Okay, show of hands. How many of you have ever tried God's patience? I mean, my goodness, So whether the stories that we're telling ourselves are personal or, what they call transpersonal, a story is a box. And when you identify with that story to the point of being stuck, or spellbound, or when it prevents you from knowing yourself as sacred and worthy, you're inside the box, okay? When you begin to even question the story, you're outside the box, all right? Not that it's easy to think outside a box, or no less step outside of it. Stories are powerful. They're powerful, and they shape our lives. Because stories become beliefs, become behaviors. And it's tough to sometimes insert a question mark in there anywhere, all right? So in other words, we don't just tell stories, they're telling us at the same time. They're telling us who we are and what we are capable of. And I think every telling rubs it in a little bit more deeply. I do the same thing. I'm sorry, he's playing the piano while he's listening. I love that. Constantly telling stories like this. And every telling rubs it in a little bit more deeply, whether the stories you're telling yourself are negative or positive, like affirmations. All right? And there's, it's kind of a numbers game to some degree. The more you tell the new story, the more it begins to balance out the old one. All right? So expanding the stories that are, I think, a lot of them too small for us. They're constricting, they're constraining, they're too small for us. Expanding our lives, all right, is going to require what Dan McAdams, I ran across this guy, he belongs to a branch of psychology called narrative therapy, specifically designed to help people change their storylines. He says you need to interrogate your life. Interrogate yourself, that's the word he uses, about the stories you're telling yourself, and not just let them continue to have their way with you, all right? And I think you start by watching your language, as our parents used to say. Watch your language. In other words, listen to how you talk to yourself. I'm occasionally shocked at the tone of voice I use with myself. I would not put up with that if somebody else was doing it to me. Why would I put up with saying it to myself in a harsh, critical tone of voice, for instance, right? So The process, needless to say, of tuning in to the stories has helped a lot if you happen to have any kind of a self-reflective practice. Mindfulness meditation, prayer, meditation, dream work, doing dream interpretation, therapy, for that matter, is a self-reflective practice. In fact, I had a therapist say this to me once, after I had shared with him one of my favorite sob stories about how my family of origin had victimized me. He said, "So how many times have you told that story? And how many more times are you planning on telling it?" So he was not the there kind of therapist. He was the keep your feet to the fire kind of therapist, which I guess I needed at that point in my life, all right? And because we're always making up new stories, I think it's important to watch how you craft them, how you get them going, you know? McAdams says, for instance, that people who tell stories about challenging events in their life, okay, but with a redemptive twist, something they learned from the experience, some wisdom they wrested from it, some way they grew as a result of this event. They tend to thrive more over the course of their lives than people who just tell negative stories about challenging events, all right? Okay, example. I lost a job early in my journalism career, and initially just called it a failure, and that was the story I told about it and how I told the story. Thrown under the bus, okay? Over time, I realized it was precisely by getting fired from that job that I gained the momentum I needed, just the momentum I needed to finally become a freelance writer, which I had been called to do for half a decade at that point and was just simply avoiding. But it was precisely by getting fired that I got the motivation to do that. So I changed it from a story of failure to, if not quite a story of success, at least a story of falling up. Does that concept ring a bell? Yes. Falling up. Joseph Campbell used to call them directive crises. I think the rest of us probably just call them lemons into lemonade. But falling up is a very powerful idea. I did a timeline of my life earlier this year, a timeline of the growth spurts in my life. And as far back as I could remember, it was fascinating to me how many of them, the vast majority, were accompanied by upheaval, were precipitated by upheaval. You know, and I really just helped cement in my brain, don't worry so much about failure, you know, because it almost always leads to a falling up experience. You know, in fact, I remember my dad. My dad was a scientist. He said, you know, you shouldn't focus so much on failure or, for that matter, even success. Think like a scientist, he said. Life is just an experiment and there's just results. Take the booga booga off the failure and the success, you know. Interesting. Think like a scientist. Life is an experiment and there's just results. So that's, I think, what McAdams is talking about the redemptive twist. Okay? One of the things that has really been important to me in reevaluating the stories I tell myself, separating fact from fiction. Separate fact from fiction, okay? My parents divorced when I was 9 is a fact. It's my fault is a fiction, right? My father was critical and emotionally absent, might be a true story. Again, in my case it was. But I'm unworthy of love is a false story, right? There ain't no town big enough for the two of us might once have been true, but no longer is. So separating fact from fiction, all right? So you have to ask yourself if some of the stories you're hearing yourself say, which we'll take a gentle but earnest look at in the workshop, some of the stories you're telling yourself are true, and how true. How true? Because even a shred of contrary evidence to the storyline, right? A minor exception, a little tiny crack in its logic, you know? Another way it could be told from another point of view, might give you that all-important shadow of a doubt. That really our whole legal system is based on shadow of a doubt, that can help you question the truthfulness of the story, okay? And maybe help you step beyond the limitations you set for yourself by telling it over and over, all right? Here's another example. I have made a possibly tragic number of life decisions that started and ended with, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And what that's doing is grinding into my subconscious a message of self-imposed limitation. Rap on the knuckles at the cookie jar all the time. What is more accurate is I won't afford it. This adds into the equation the critical elements of power and choice. I won't afford it means I would prefer to spend my money on car repairs rather than a new computer. All right? Big difference then I can't afford it when that is not actually true. Okay? So, separating the fact from the fiction thing. Here's another example. I hear this a lot. People saying, I'm not the creative type. So what if you, under scrutiny, you begin to deconstruct that story a little? Let's say you go out into the garden to cut flowers, put them in a vase. You come inside and you put the yellows in the front and the purples in the back and the blues in the middle. You're being artistic. You doodle on a pad while you're talking to your dad on the phone. You're drawing. You sing along to the car radio. You are singing. You may not win American Idol, but you're singing. Okay? You write a letter to a friend. You are writing. When you dream, your unconscious is literally playwriting. It's playwriting. Don't you wonder sometimes when you wake up, how did my mind ever come up with that image? And sometimes it's brilliant. I'm thinking about quitting my job and I have a dream of throwing a rock through the window of a bank. That's brilliant to me. Showing how I feel about the money grind, the paycheck grind. All right? So you're playwriting. So suddenly you may discover, wow, actually I am the creative type. So maybe I ought to knock it off with the story that I'm not. All right? So I also want to offer a gracious bow to how tough it is to change storylines. This is not, something you're going to do at the flip of a switch, especially if you've been telling yourself a story for the better part of a lifetime. Changing stories is going to ruffle feathers. It is, and not necessarily just yours. Sometimes other people's. I'll give you an example. I was hiking with my brother in the Santa Cruz Mountains a couple of years back, and we are having a debate about how susceptible we are to cultural conditioning. It started just because he made some bold statement about being immune to advertising. So I said, oh, really? So and not just consumer type of advertising, but cultural advertising, I think. And in making a point about how susceptible I thought we were to that kind of thing, I dared him to hold hands with me until we reached a bend in the forest path, I don't know, 100, 200 feet up. He reaches out his hand, accompanied by a look that roughly translated to, I call your bluff. So here's the thing. There was clearly nobody around. There was nobody around. But the next 10 seconds just provoked an outbreak of reflexes that would have put Pavlov's dogs to shame. Just embarrassment, awkwardness, self-consciousness, paranoia, pure conditioning, based on a story about how straight men are supposed to act in this culture. In this culture. Very different in some other cultures. But how straight guys are supposed to act in this culture. All right? That's the storyline. And crossing it just made both of us really profoundly uncomfortable. And we had to start looking at, well, what's that about? What is that all about? And that's a big conversation, as you might imagine. All right? By the way, I would not be a proper twin if I did not report to you that he broke first. He broke first. This is just twins. This is something we do. Okay, but again, changing storylines, it's tough, hard human work. And compassion is in order. Patience is in order. Definitely a sense of humor is in order. All right, again, it's you may have to sing yourself a different tune 100 times, maybe 500 times, before it begins to really sink in here and you begin to really believe the new storyline. You may have to, equal and opposite reactions. You've heard this notion, Newton's third law of something or other, right? Something or other. I think that's what it's called in the textbooks. So you may have to keep repeating this over and over. It was by dialoguing with my brother. It was by dialoguing with him about this prohibition that there ain't no town big enough for the two of us that we were able to slowly overcome it. And we now live in the same town for the first time since we were boys. All right? And it is truly one of the great joys of my life. All right? But it was only by being willing to confront the story and hash it out that this new joy has entered my life. All right? So it took some doing to get over that hump. It's a big hump. All right? So in the spirit of upgrading our stories, if not our lives, I just want to say that the workshop this afternoon is a very hands-on opportunity to gently but stout-heartedly look at some of the stories you may be telling yourself, especially the ones that hold you back from your passion, your potential, what wants to emerge in your life at this juncture, and from knowing that you are sacred and worthy. Whatever those stories are that hold you back from that experience of knowing yourself that way, we're going to gently take a look at. So I hope you'll come. And thank you, Reverend Mike, so much for inviting me, and Reverend Maureen, just for everything, all your support over the years. Thank you so much. And thank you, guys. Delightful to be here. Thank you.
Can I do a song for you? This is speaks to the message you just gave. So I just I believe I hurt myself last night, but I can't remember. It's happening too frequently. It seems I may be thinking all wrong now. Son, get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Son, get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Looking back on all those times, I think I'll make a real long list. I may have to take possession of the things that I used to do. Son, get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Well, get on out of your own way. Son, get on out of your own way. Well, I've been found asleep at the wheel. Just like I've done so many times before. I just can't help myself now. I can't tell myself the truth. I've been told so many times, get on out of your own way. Well, I have made a promise to myself and learned my lesson well. my life more peacefully instead of raising holy hell. Well, I've been found asleep at my wheel, just like I've done so many times before. Well, do I really need to be told again? Well, I should really know by now. Son, get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Son, get on out of your own way. Well, get on out of your own way. Hey, get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way. Get on out of your own way.
All right, everyone, Paul Serra. Look for him on Spotify and everywhere else too. I don't know all those download places.
I don't know if I'm out there.
Not that I haven't downloaded before, but that was the old days. All right, and Mr. Gregg Levoy, let's give him some love, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Chat him up and come back at 1 o'clock at the appointed Zoom room with the sacred password. And you can delve into, that was a great story, by the way, with your brother. Yeah, we've all got a story like that we could work with. So come join us. Or if you're local, come join us here in the room. There's some vittles out there on the other side. Even looks like we have plenty. So come on over, grab a bite to eat, stick around for the workshop. All right. So it's time now for our offering where we will, you can, if you're online, if you can just take a moment to use our donate button for your offering this morning. You can also, if you're planning on joining us with Gregg online, you can also use this portal for the $30 fee for the workshop as well, and we'll make sure Gregg gets that. All right, so let's just go into our offering song now. And for those of you who have a offering for this morning, just come on up when the basket is open and know that it's appreciated.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit gives through you, Spirit receives through you, Spirit lives and breathes through you, Spirit lives and breathes through you.
Going within for just a moment longer as we recognize and know that this basket here represents the giving consciousness of the individual. That person who knows and knows that they know that God is our source, our substance, our supply. It is the power in the results that we honor here, honor every time we step into life. It also represents the heart of this spiritual community as we accept these gifts by whatever means they make their way to our center, whether through your mail-in donation, online giving, or here in the sanctuary this morning, that we as a spiritual community accept these gifts with deep love and respect, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless anyone connected to this center in any way, that we extend this knowing and this blessing of health, prosperity, and peace and harmony into our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that we know for our planet as well, that all of it is an emanation of the divine creative impulse of life and expression, and to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in ways great and small that lifts our hearts and propel us into our own creative impulse of life, which is the highest recognition of the Spirit, the living Spirit in this world. And that's a good thing to know that. So let's know this by saying, and so it is. Amen. All right, so let's give Gregg just a little more love. And to Mr. Paul Serra one more time. And to our presider, the wonderful Andre Recht, who is going to pray us out. Come on up. And if you need any prayer support this week, I did want to mention, so we have babies around the church these days. So Melissa will be working at home, probably to her delivery. It's getting close. So if you need anything, just leave a message or drop an email, and just give us a few hours maybe to get back to you, because I'll be riding herd on it myself. All right, let's pray out.
So once again, I have that wonderful opportunity to simply turn within and recognize the divine as my life, as all creation. How grateful I am to know that by means of this service, we have become willing to let go of our old stories that no longer serve us, rewrite new ones, and step into a greater and expanded awareness of who and what we are as the divine. We let nothing stand in the way of that truth. And for this, I remain thankful and grateful beyond the ability of words to explain. I give thanks for all that has been heard, all that has been said, all that has been understood, and for that which has been expanded in my own awareness as I say yes to life. And for this, I remain thankful and grateful as I lovingly release this word, blessing each of us as we travel to our next destination, hopefully the workshop. And I give thanks for all of it. And in agreement with this word, we simply say together, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Please stay around for the peace song. Stand up and join us.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was made.